fictional villain would you have the easiest time defending? Story 1. Deaf Lex Luthor. 99% of the time he uses henchmen who won't talk, and he can definitely pay my exorbitant bills. To be fair, Lex Luthor is also right. Soups is a danger to the planet. He is a walking nuke, and he invites disaster by summoning other walking nukes. All you need to do is look at any alternative Earth's evil Superman to see that Lex, although clearly evil and his ends justify the means approach, is absolutely justified for fearing Superman for the sake of Earth. However, one could argue that Lex enjoys power for power's sake and cares less about saving Earth and more about being top dog, and Superman clearly stands as an obstacle to him being the apex predator on Earth. Story 2. It would depend on the legal status of Dorothy's companions. I'm pretty sure that you can't attempt to burn someone to death because they are traveling with someone who stole your shoes, even if they are attempting to prevent you from harming the person carrying stolen property. Define easiest time defending. If you define it as, I think they have an easy case to win, then probably Gaston, since hunting a beast that is a threat to members of your own town isn't a crime. Remember, Beast did lock up Belle's dad, and there's no reason to believe that Beast couldn't go evil again during the inevitable divorce. If you mean the one I'm going to most enjoy defending, then pick the richest one. It's a criminal client. Write me a check and don't call me every 10 damn minutes from the jail, and I'm a happy camper. Story 3. Dr. Doofenshmirtz. All of his inventions ultimately only end up stealing and damaging the creations of 2 kids, so he could probably be let out with a theft charge. Really, he's just a lonely, unloved man trying to be seen in the world. Good thing he has this therapy platypus. In some cases, his inventions could actually benefit society. I'm pretty sure there was one episode where someone took one of his innators, and it became a machine used by eye doctors to fix eye problems. Story 4. When I was a kid, I remember being devastated in the movie Big Daddy when the social worker took Zach and Cody away from Adam Sandler, but after watching it again as an adult, although still sad, I'm thinking, yeah, of fucking course they're gonna take him away from the stranger. So the social worker from Big Daddy is a layup case. In the same vein, Miss Doubtfire. Daniel couldn't hold down a job or an apartment, so of course he wasn't in a position to have joint custody, but then he literally dresses up as an old woman and deceives his entire family to have time with his kids. Then, when they take the kids away, of course they're going to remove the children from someone who's unstable enough to see assuming a new identity and lying to my whole family as a better alternative to get my shit together so I can see my kids. Story 5. The Wicked Witch of the West. She was angry at Dorothy, but then again Dorothy dropped a house on her sister and then grave robbed the witch sister's body with Glinda's help. The shoes were rightfully the witch's anyway, presuming she was her sister's only heir and her sister died in her state. All the witch wanted was for Dorothy to apologize and return the slippers she stole. Everything else that happened was the result of the witch's reasonable attempts to defend herself and her property against Dorothy's killings, theft, and trespass. Story 6. It's kind of scary how little of what went on in the Truman Show would actually be illegal in the real world. There's a few fringe cases, most notably actively preventing Truman from leaving once he realized he was in a fake world and expressed a desire to escape. But pretty much everything up to that point is very legal, and it would be hard to press charges against the director or anyone else for the basic premise of raising a child in a reality show without their knowledge. Seems like a very easy case of invasion of privacy, probably a handful of other niche torts, maybe unlawful hiring and employment practices, and failing to pay an employee wages. Very good points, and there's actually a great podcast called Ad Absurdum that goes into it in more detail. A lot of this stuff can be gotten around through a couple of things. The corporation in the movie is Truman's legal parent, and as such can sign away most of his rights on his behalf until he's an adult. It wouldn't be hard to raise Truman to not value his privacy, making it easy to get him to sign it away once he turns 18. They could be paying him his salary and just putting it into an account in his name. Included fine print in his employment contract, which he signed, that includes television appearances. Truman could probably take them to the cleaners in civil court, but it would be hard to stick many criminal charges. Story 7. Does Dr. Doom need legal defense? As the ruler of his own country, does diplomatic immunity cover all of his actions? Pretty much. That's how he keeps getting away with all the things in the comics. He's the legal sovereign leader of a respected modern country, so can't be arrested for fear of provoking a war. They did try a few times replacing him with someone who has a better legal right to the country, but they always turn out to be crazy tyrants, as opposed to Doom, who is generally and at least a reasonable dictator, so usually he either wins it back. Story 8. Robbie Rotten. I mean, his crimes mostly just aren't. The only actual serious crime I can remember off the top of my head was the time he snuck onto Sporticus's blimp and started fucking around with it. Trespassing, grand theft auto, if that even applies to blimps, probably grand larceny if it doesn't, reckless driving, and probably other related charges. Story 9. Most of the old school Scooby-Doo villains, they didn't really do anything other than scare people off private property. Most of them are doing so for illegal reasons though, like insurance fraud or tax evasion or whatever. Story 10. Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. He does technically kidnap Kuzco, but I think we could get his sentence way reduced. I think he could charm the jury or completely blow up his own case in the stand. It could be a fun surprise. Story 11. Smaug. He had to have earned squatters' rights to be considered an adverse possessor of the property after all that time. And the House of Durin did abandon the property. I think he had a right to defend his home. Objection, Your Honor. Prosecution cites Trogdor versus Countryside 2003 and 18 U.S.C. Division 249D, which clearly states that an indictment or information alleging that an offense under this section resulted in death may be found or instituted at any time without limitation. Ergo, ipso facto, caveat emptor, there is no statute of limitations for murder or the deaths resulting from burninating the countryside. Story 12. Probably Palpatine. Republic law doesn't apply because he can bend it. Also, as Supreme Chancellor, he probably has immunity. Imperial law doesn't apply either because I assume he is untouchable there. And real world law could also be tricky. All his dirty work was done by his students who are conveniently dead. Good luck proving they did anything on his orders. Being a Sith Lord isn't a crime because freedom of religion. His fight against the Jedi was self-defense as it was an attack against him with religious motives. Even the killing of Hago Damask would be impossible to prove as there were no witnesses, and nobody even knew they were on Coruscant together. And the creation of the Empire was approved by the Senate. He didn't even abduct Maul. He was given to him. The most realistic thing would be conspiracy to destroy the Republic or something. But it sounds like a conspiracy theory to claim that there's this big Sith rule of two things going on over centuries. And even if it got to trial somehow, if it's a jury trial, the opposition would have a very hard time. Story 13. Yellowjacket from Ant-Man. He killed one dude, but there was zero evidence of that. All he did was use his own company's research to try and create a new weapon. Maybe not particularly moral, but he didn't do anything wrong until Ling and Pyram stole from him and destroyed his entire office building. After that, he did some property damage, but Pyram even said that the shrinking tech could affect his mind, so there's a completely reasonable defense that his behavior was affected beyond what he's aware of. Furthermore, since Pyram created the tech and knew full well that it could affect the mind and didn't do anything to warn Darren Cross about it, it's really his fault. Story 14. Ursula. Basic contract action. Ariel may have been a minor, but that only makes the contract voidable, not invalid. At no point did Ariel ask to avoid the contract. Instead, her father decided to sign his own contract. King Triton is a sophisticated party who entered in a binding contract. King Triton was the one who was willing to throw his kingdom away to bail out his favorite daughter. Story 15. The Joker. Your Honor, my client, who is clearly suffering from schizophrenic delusions and various other mental issues, was punched in the face by a billionaire in a rubber gimp suit. And worse, the Gotham City Police Commissioner asked him to do it.